Yo, nuh-uh. Trump just got the COVID, y'all. What in the crap? At such an inopportune time, too, right? It's like a month away from the elections, 14 days until the next debate. This is an unprecedented situation in the history of our country. A president or someone running for president getting sick with something that's potentially deadly just weeks away from the election date. Whoa, blow your mind. What's up, folks? I'm Lil Guillotine. You're tuned into a special edition of The Chopping Block.
Guillotine and your neck meets beautifully.
The Chopping Block.
Donald Trump announced via Twitter at 12:54 a.m. in Washington, D.C. time. Tonight, Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together. And for some folks, conspiracy theories definitely come to the front of the mind. And in case you thought he was faking, I guess his doctor also came out and made a statement about it. Although I guess it's possible that his doctor is in on it, but I don't believe that. Sean Conley, his doctor and physician to the president, released a text saying, "I released the following information with the permission of President Donald J. Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. This evening, I received confirmation that both President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the SARS-CoV-2 virus. The President and the First Lady are both well at this time, and they plan to remain home within the White House during their convalescence. The White House medical team and I will maintain a vigilant watch, and I appreciate the support provided by some of our country's greatest medical professionals and institutions. Rest assured, I expect the President to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while recovering, and I will keep you updated on any future developments." Right, so it's real. It would be such sweet revenge for his atrocity of handling the pandemic in the United States, costing the lives of so many hundreds of thousands with his failed public policies and rhetoric he puts out that is extremely harmful. Can't help but wonder if he's planning on injecting some of those disinfectants. And damn, I didn't know that the coronavirus was on the Biden campaign team. Apparently it is. But the possibilities of President Trump dying from the coronavirus are pretty high, actually, if you think about it. He's in several risk categories that put him at a higher risk than most people who catch COVID-19. For instance, he's 74 years old, he's taking statin and has heart disease, he has a prostate condition, he's obese, having a very high BMI, doesn't eat healthy, brags about eating cheeseburgers, is principally against exercise, claims that it drains your battery. All of these things mean that there's a very high possibility that he may die from the coronavirus, and wouldn't that just seem like the chickens come home to roost? I mean, let's get into it, all the irresponsible ways that Trump has reacted to the pandemic. Well, heck, just a day ago, he was in a crowd of thousands at a Trump campaign rally in Minnesota where he was throwing hats and shirts out to folks. This was after he had the virus, right? At the debate that he had with Biden a couple days ago, he was saying that Dr. Fauci said that masks are bad. He always shows up without a mask in crowded situations and has barely been spotted wearing one, except for in very few situations. And heck, at the debate the other day with Biden, he mocked Joe Biden wearing masks. And there was just a Cornell University study that came out that found that the single largest driver of misinformation about coronavirus was Trump himself. And that's not even to go into the disastrous way that he's handled the pandemic from the get-go. We found out that he admitted he knew how deadly the virus was back in February, and then in some other recordings that came out, we found out that he was actively planning to play it down for political reasons. So in other words, playing with people's lives for his politics, and his disastrous response at getting testing kits available for folks to take in the United States. Folks in his administration actively worked to squash the World Health Organization tests that were available, and because of that there was a huge delay in availability of testing here in the United States that could have saved many lives, many thousands or tens of thousands of lives, and all because they were trying to get involved in some profit-making schemes, coming out with tests themselves. And of course it makes you wonder, is this some sort of campaign tactic? And you can already see the Republican Party spinning the situation to their advantage. Folks are going on the news and talking about this might be an opportunity to highlight how much improvement has been done in the care available for folks who have coronavirus over the months that Trump's been in charge, taking credit for those things, even though there really has not been any improvement in care unless you're deathly ill. It also makes you wonder, what if Trump and his campaign are faking it so that they can miraculously recover and then sort of look like a Superman or someone who's invincible, and then he can also reaffirm the way that he's been dismissing the seriousness of the coronavirus and be like, see, I told you so, it's nothing to be afraid of. He's also very likely to get sympathy votes for being sick now during the election. But again, like I said, those are just theories of the conspiracy variety. And in fact, Trump himself went on Fox News on a telephone interview and actually mentioned that they don't know whether they have it themselves or not, even though he had just been told by his physician an hour before the interview that he did have it. So he's like lying, or he just doesn't know what he's talking about. But either way, it seems like he's not intentionally lying about having it. Just yet anyways. But this will definitely raise questions about whether it's safe or not to open up the country again, as he's been such a staunch supporter and advocate of. And this could thankfully put a dent in the voter suppression campaign that Trump has been spearheading. So a potentially good thing there. This is definitely biting him in the butt over his BS policies and rhetoric that he's been spreading, his anti-mask rhetoric, his failure to provide personal protective equipment, to make testing available, to provide an income for folks so that they can afford to stay home and quarantine, his constant fighting against quarantining cities, and rhetoric about how Democrats are causing folks to have higher suicide rates, divorce rates, and depression by quarantining cities in order to prevent the spread of the virus. And I think the fact that President Trump has been using coronavirus and the massive deaths to sort of push a Darwinian type of rhetoric that only the strong survive has only played into sort of genocidal theories and ideas that these white supremacists, racist militias, neo-Nazis, and fascists are such big advocates for. So now Trump will have to vastly call off his campaign for at least 14 days while he's made to quarantine inside of his house, which will be a big blow to him because he's trailing Biden in the polls by a significant amount and really needed to turn up the campaigning in order to get some of those undecided voters over to his side. Given that the next debate is in 14 days, it's very highly unlikely that he will be able to make it. And of course that brings up the question, are debates even really that important for elections? First of all, only 7% of voters are undecided at this point. And second of all, Trump is not the kind of candidate who tries to appeal to everybody, but rather he's perfectly content with dividing society and appealing to his base with white supremacist and racist rhetoric. So it's not clear whether or not these debates being missed will really affect the election at all. It may be 14 days before he even sees any symptoms come, and so it might be much longer than 14 days that he's out of debating for and may not make any debates. It's possible he may be healthy enough in 14 days but still in quarantine and be able to do the debate via Zoom. I don't know if he'd be willing to do that. He is very fond of getting in front of large crowds. That's sort of where he gets his energy from. I would be remiss as an anarchist anti-capitalist to point out the fact that this is a good situation where we can highlight the minimal importance that we should be putting on any elected office inside of an oppressive white supremacist patriarchal system that is capitalism here in the United States. To quote Howard Zinn, it matters very little who's sitting in the White House office, and it matters more who's sitting in, right? Disrupting society and involved in grassroots campaign to create social change from the ground up. So even if he does end up dying from coronavirus, it will not solve the problems that we have in this oppressive society. Wow, wild times we're living in. 2020, right? Let me know what y'all think about the situation. Do you wish Trump would die? Say in the comments. Do you want him to get better? Say in the comments. Are there other good things and bad things you can think of about the situation? Are you voting for Biden for harm reduction or for any other reason? Say that in the comments. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Chopping Block. I'm Lil Guillotine. I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace out, y'all.